In the hour before Gesar forgot his own name, he stood at the edge of Namtso, the sacred mountain lake, and made a choice that would damn him. The gods had given him one law above all others: never take a life that offers itself willingly. He broke it anyway. The wind carried ash from the burning world below. For 3 years, the demon king Lutzen had carved his kingdom from the flesh of the steppe, and the Sky Father had finally sent his answer down from the heavens on a cord of light. Gesar descended wearing the face of mercy, but his heart beat with the arrogance of the divine. He had never known defeat. He had never known consequence. He rode his celestial horse, Kiang Gyalpo, across the grasslands with his flaming sword raised, and everywhere the demons fell back like wheat before wind. But Lutzen would not be so easily harvested. The demon king had 9 heads, each speaking a different lie. His fortress rose from the black mountains like a broken tooth, and within its walls he kept Gesar's queen, Drugmo, locked in a tower that touched the clouds. She had been radiant once. Now her light came only from the prayer flags she wove from her own hair, sending desperate messages to gods who seemed to have turned their faces away. Gesar laid siege to the fortress for 40 days. The bodies of demons piled so high that snow fell upon them and made new mountains. His lance never missed. His horse never tired. The eagle on his banner never stopped screaming its war cry. But still the gates would not open, and still Lutzen laughed from his throne of human bones, and still Drugmo wept in her tower prison. On the 41st day, a child came walking across the battlefield. She was perhaps 8 years old, dressed in the simple deal of the steppe herders, and she walked barefoot through the blood-soaked mud without seeming to notice. Gesar saw her from a distance and felt something cold move through his divine chest. He dismounted and waited, and when she reached him, she did not bow. "The demon king sends you an offer," she said. Her voice was wrong, too deep, echoing with harmonics that made the air shiver. "I do not bargain with demons," Gesar said. "Then your queen will die screaming," the child replied. "Lutzen has learned the sacred laws that bind you. He knows you cannot harm what offers itself freely to harm. He knows your power comes from heaven's favor, and heaven has rules even for its greatest heroes." Gesar's hand moved to his sword, but the child did not flinch. "I am the offer," she said simply. "Kill me, and the gates will open. Refuse, and tomorrow 9 more children will come, then 90. Then 900. We will walk to you across this steppe until you drown in our willing blood, or turn away and leave your queen to her fate." "You are possessed," Gesar said, searching her eyes for any trace of the demon's influence. "I am volunteer," the child said, and smiled with her own teeth. "My family was eaten by Lutzen's horde. I have nothing left but revenge. If my death opens those gates and lets you kill him, then I die gladly. I offer myself. I want this." The wind changed direction. From the tower, Gesar heard Drugmo scream. He looked at the child. He looked at the fortress. He thought of all the laws of heaven, handed down from the Sky Father himself. Never take a life freely given. The willing sacrifice is sacred. To spill such blood is to spit on the divine order, to place your own will above the architecture of creation itself. Gesar raised his flaming sword. "Wait," the child said, and for the first time her voice wavered. "You would truly do it? You would break heaven's law?" "For her," Gesar said, "I would break the world itself." The blade fell. The child fell. The gates opened, and in the heavens above the Sky Father turned his face away. Gesar felt it immediately, the severing. The divine light that had always burned in his chest, that had made him more than mortal, began to gutter and fade. But the gates were open, and he had no time for fear. He mounted Kiang Gyalpo and rode through them, up the spiraling paths to Lutzen's throne room, and the Demon King was waiting. "You did it," Lutzen said with all 9 mouths. "I did not think even you possessed such arrogance." They fought for an hour or a year. Without heaven's favor, Gesar's sword arm grew tired. His perfect horse stumbled. The lance that had never missed now gouged only stone. But rage is its own kind of power, and hubris has its own terrible strength. When Lutzen's final head rolled across the floor, Gesar stood over it, mortal and bleeding and damned. He found Drugmo in her tower. She was thin as a prayer flag, transparent almost, and when she saw him she wept. "What have you done?" she whispered. "I saved you," he said. "You were supposed to save the world," she replied. "That is why you were sent. That is why you were made divine. But you have placed me above the law of creation, and now the cost will come due." The floor beneath them trembled. Gesar carried his queen down the tower stairs, through the fortress, out into the daylight where his celestial horse waited. But Kiang Gyalpo's mane no longer flowed with starlight. The eagle on Gesar's banner hung limp and dead, and across the steppe new smoke was rising. Without heaven's champion, without the divine hero to hold them back, other demons were emerging from their caves and crypts, sensing the change in the air. Drugmo took his face in her hands. "The Sky Father will send for you," she said. "You will have to answer for what you've done." "Then let him send," Gesar said. "I would make the same choice again." She smiled sadly. "That is what damns you most." The summons came at dawn, carried by a wind that stripped the flesh from the demon corpses and left only ash. Gesar rode to Lake Namtso alone. The water was black as the sky between stars, and it reflected nothing. The Sky Father's voice came from everywhere and nowhere. "You have broken the sacred law. You have placed your own desire above the order of creation. What defense do you offer?" Gesar stood at the water's edge. Behind him, the steppe burned. Ahead, the lake waited. "I offer none," he said. "I am guilty, but I am not sorry." "Then you will be transformed," the Sky Father said. "Since you have chosen mortal love over divine duty, you will become fully mortal. You will forget your heavenly nature. You will forget your divine purpose. You will live as a human, die as a human, and in death you will not rise to the celestial realm, but pass into the cycle of rebirth like any common soul." "And Drugmo?" Gesar asked. "She will remember everything. That is her burden. To watch you forget, to see you grow old and weak and lost, knowing who you were and what you sacrificed." "Good," Gesar said. "Let her remember. Let someone carry the weight of what I was, even as I forget." The Sky Father's voice carried something that might have been sorrow. "You still do not understand. The child you killed was not possessed. Lutzen spoke through her, yes, but her choice was real. She truly offered herself. You killed a willing sacrifice, Gesar. You took the holiest thing in creation and made it murder. That is why you cannot be forgiven." The lake began to glow. Gesar felt his memories starting to slip away like water through cupped hands. His divine nature peeled from his bones. His certainty crumbled. He looked down at his hands and could not remember if they had once held a flaming sword or always just worn these simple calluses of an ordinary man. "Wait," he said, grasping for something dissolving even as he named it. "There was someone, a woman. I think I loved her." "Yes," said the Sky Father softly, "you did." By the time Drugmo found him wandering the shore, Gesar had forgotten even his own name. He looked at her with the blank curiosity of a stranger and asked if she knew the way to the nearest Ger, as he seemed to have gotten lost. She took his hand and led him home, and every day after she told him stories of a great hero who once rode across the sky. He never believed them, but he liked the way her voice carried them, and sometimes when she spoke of the warrior king, he felt an ache in his chest like a memory of something vast and terrible and bright. The demons returned to the world, as demons always do, but they gave Drugmo's Ger a wide berth when they passed, for they could still see the fading nimbus around her mortal husband. They could still smell the divine arrogance that had brought the greatest hero of heaven down to earth for love. And on the peaks above the sacred lake, prayer flags woven from a queen's hair still flutter in the wind, carrying messages to gods who listen but do not answer, in a language that speaks only of sacrifice and the terrible weight of getting what you choose.